Okay, so welcome to the Fall 2021 Mentee Orientation for the Meliora Collective Mentorship Program. I'm excited to have you all here, as well as being part of this fantastic program. We have run this program now twice in the past, once through a beta group, and then last spring where we had almost 1,000 people in that program to begin with. And did some things a little bit differently, learned from it, really honed it, and we hope that we now will have a fantastic experience for you all this fall. So to get started, who am I? As I mentioned, my name is Amber Graham. I work with the Green Center for Career Education and Connections at the University of Rochester, and I also partner with two fabulous colleagues over in Alumni Relations, Michelle Cavalcanti and Becky Picone, both of whom you will hear from at some point or another throughout the program this semester. So my first question, because I never like to do this just on my own, is I would like to learn a little bit more about who you are. So I'm going to pop a poll up here very quickly. Fantastic. It looks like we've leveled off a little bit. So we have a fantastic blend of undergraduate students, graduate students, and alumni here with us today. One of the things that I did want to bring up is that this program is open to everyone at the university. Alumni are able to sign up as mentors or mentees. So it's great to see some of our alumni mentees here participating with us today. This also shows a pretty representative breakdown of who's in the program. So we have great alumni that are joining as mentees to talk with somebody about whatever their next steps might be. We also have a strong undergraduate student population showing, and a really, really great group of graduate students that are joining us in the program this year as well. So next I am going to move on, and I'm interested in knowing what is or was your primary college at the university. And this all just lets me get to know sort of who's in the room, the type of things we might expect, and also to show you everybody that's eligible for the program and who else really makes up the population of folks who are going to be part of this program. So thank you. It looks like I have almost everybody. And in sharing these results, you can see that everybody from the university is represented here. We have some folks from every single one of our colleges across the board. The one missing, there's 7 colleges here. We actually have 8. The one that's missing is the Eastman Institute of Oral Health. Most of those folks would sign up as part of the School of Medicine and Dentistry. So thank you for taking a quick look at that. And we will now dive into our program. So over this next half hour, what we're going to do is quickly go through the goals of the program, timeline, what I like to call the rules of Fight Club. For anybody who knows the cult classic, first rule of Fight Club is nobody talks about Fight Club. We do expect you to talk about this program, so that will not be one of the rules. Information on what you need to do to favorite mentors and be part of the matching process, what actually happens during the matching process, how to connect with your mentor, where to go for help. And then also towards the end, you will have plenty of time to ask Q&A. I'll make sure that folks can unmute themselves if they'd like to do that verbally, or you'll be able to use the chat. So to get started, program goals for this program, I have a program goal. My program goal as an administrator is to connect our community to each other. And so that's connecting students and graduate students to alumni, and also alumni to alumni. That's our biggest goal. Beyond that, the goals of this program are up to you. And so there's plenty of reasons that folks might join this mentoring program. And I'm going to run another poll here just to hear from you. You can pick one of these as sort of the top option for you today. And I'm going to say what are the top reasons you wanted to do this program? I can tell this is a longer question because it's taking longer for people to put in their answer. If none of these are exactly why you answered, you're also welcome to pick other, and we'd love to see some of your answers over in the chat if it's something other than one of these. Great, so I'm going to close this out now and show everybody the results. And as you can see, there's a lot of different reasons in here. Some folks want to explore career options. Some folks are looking for some advice on life and work balance. And I intentionally put life and work balance and not the other way around in here. There's a lot of different reasons that folks might want to join this program and priorities for them. So the reason the program is structured the way it is because we're not going to come in here and say, this is what you should be doing in this program. The program is incredibly flexible. You'll work with your mentor to define what your goals are during the 3 months of the program. So what is it that you want to accomplish by the end of December with your mentor, as well as talk about how that fits into your longer term goals, depending on what those might be, and depending on if those change over time. So this is really about a process of getting to know somebody, setting some short-term goals, having them help you through that process, and then moving on from that. So to move past that, we'll talk quickly about the program timeline. October 7th, next Thursday, is match day. That's the day that you'll receive an email and a message on the Meliora Collective platform, letting you know who your mentor is and giving you some instructions on how to reach out to them. It is the responsibility of mentees to reach out to their mentors. I'm going to repeat that. It is your responsibility to reach out to your mentor. If you do not hear back from them within a first week, you can always let us know and we can nudge them along. That first interchange needs to happen one of two ways. It can either happen directly from your email box, type a message introducing yourself to the mentor, and it will go straight through to them and we will be able to count that. Otherwise, you can go into the platform and you can click on the envelope icon in the top right to get to your inbox and then send the message right in there as a chat message. You can, once you're matched with your mentor, you'll also be able to see in that inbox the different goals for the program as you work through these different meetings. So things that we want you to do through the process, and check those off even if you're somebody that really likes to check off a list. In month one, you're going to do those first 1 to 2 meetings, discuss communications, how your mentor likes to communicate, how you like to communicate, and then also start defining what your long-term and short-term goals are. In month 2, you'll start working on those goals. That can be very diverse. It could be talking through with them about what your resume should look like, or doing a mock interview, or it might be tapping into their connections network and reaching out to someone they know. Then in month 3, you'll be finishing up on just those short-term goals and thinking about, is this a relationship that you want to keep in the future beyond the end of the program date? And if so, how are you going to do that? And then we close out on January 5th, just in time to relaunch this program for our January, February cohort. If anybody does have any questions while I go through these slides, please let me know, and I'm happy to answer those. You can just post those in the chat. So, rules of mentorship. The first rule is to take an active part in your matching process. This is where you're able to control a little bit of who you're going to be matched with. It is really critical, if you're particular about what you're looking for in this program, that you go in and do something called favoriting mentors. You've already gotten a couple of emails from me with that information. You go into the platform, you do some research on your own using the filters and find people that you feel might be a good match for you. The reason we encourage you to do this and we hold this in the highest in our matching process is because you know yourself best and what you need right now. And we want to make sure that that can be accounted for in this process, rather than just matching folks based off an industry interest or based off a discussion topic. We really do want your own guidance in how we're going to be matching you. So this is critical for you to do by Sunday, because then what happens in the matching process is we weigh your favorites very, very heavily. We do recommend picking 3 to 5 favorites if those are available to you, so that we can weigh that. We have 360 some mentees in the program right now, and matching them down to 285. It's going up still a little bit, about 300 mentors, some of whom are going to take on 2 different mentees. So that's how the numbers are all going to work. After we consider your favorites, we'll be going through industry expertise and discussion topics to see if there's lineups there as well. And then finally, we will look at affinity requests. We're going to try and honor those as much as we can. However, if there's a particular affinity you wish to share with your mentor, maybe that's the school that they went through at U of R, or a particular academic program, or gender or background, LGBTQ status, any of those, it's really important for you to go in this weekend, use those filters in the mentor pool and see who you come up with that you might be interested in being matched with. That's the best way to make sure that those affinity requests are honored, and to make it easier on us as we're trying to match you to somebody that you really want. If you're going into this program and it does not matter who we place you with, you're just looking for somebody to help you through this next process, that's also fantastic. You don't have to do the favoriting process necessarily, but we will implore you that whomever you get as your mentor, that you do explore that relationship with them. So I do want to mention that when you put your favorites in, you may not get the mentor that you request. Because we're matching 364 mentees to mentors in the first 3 days of next week, we're doing this across all 8 colleges. Not everything is necessarily going to line up. Sometimes we do have mentors that have a great profile on the collective, and therefore they become very popular. We may also have a mismatch in program types. If we have 10 mentees that are desperately looking for somebody that works in optics, and we only have 3 alumni in optics, this is a completely made up situation. If you're an optics person, don't worry about it. But obviously those numbers wouldn't work, and we'd find some other ways to make that line up. I'll also say that all of our mentors are trained to provide general guidance to walk through this process with you that you see in the mentee guide and that you'll see in your goals within the program, and help you think of ways to gain experience. It's also important to note that all mentors have access to their own networks. So while on paper at first glance, it might not look like they're going to be able to help you necessarily in this program, they have their own networks. For all you know, their neighbor is the CEO of Google, and all of a sudden you have this incredible new connection. I'll also say that some of the best matches we've had and some of the most positive feedback we've gotten from the program is people that did not look like they matched on paper. They shared little in common, but they ended up sparking incredible conversations. And some of our best mentors aren't necessarily in some of the most popular fields. So that brings me to the second rule of mentorship, which is thou shalt not ghost thy mentor. Even if it seems like this person cannot help you, we are asking you and requiring you to at least reach out to your mentor and start the conversation. If after having that conversation, talking through what your goals are with them, it just doesn't seem like it's going to be a good match, then you can let us and them both know that you're sort of wrapping out of the program, and that's fine. But we at least need you to give them a shot. We did run into some challenges with this in the spring. We understand that people get busy. But what I want to impress upon you is if you're going into this program and there is a single person in the program that you want to be matched with, and that's it, there's a possibility you may not get that person. If you don't get somebody that you're interested in and aren't willing to trust the process, I'm going to say something radical here and say you might want to leave the program. There are plenty of ways to connect to others on the Meliora Collective through the Connections tab. And I would recommend looking for people on there and starting those conversations. You're still welcome to use your program guide to set that up in a less formal manner. But we do want to make sure that everyone gets an outreach from their mentee, that you all hear back from your mentors. Otherwise, everybody knows how it feels to be ghosted by somebody, and that is not something we want happening in this program. The third rule of mentorship is once you get your matching email, reach out to your mentor promptly. As I mentioned early on, and for anybody that's new to the call, you are responsible for reaching out to your mentor. There will be instructions in the email. If for some reason you don't get that email next weekend, next Friday, jump into the Meliora Collective, go to your inbox and find where there is an active relationship in your inbox. It's going to have a green active button. You'll click on that, see who your mentor is, and then be able to start right in that chat window. There are plenty of videos on all of this in the mentorship program under the mentee resources. It's resources and then mentee resources. There's videos that show you how to reach out to your mentor for the first time, how to go in and do the favoriting process this weekend, as well as several others to guide you throughout the program. The fourth rule of mentorship is to do the work here. You're going to get out of this program what you put into it. That includes making sure that you're scheduling meetings with your mentor on the rhythm that you've agreed upon, checking off your goals as you go through the program. It's really about giving yourself and your future this time. So that's dedicating that time to meet with your mentor, not having other things that are going on in the background or that are pulling your attention away, and giving you yourself that space to work on tasks. Finally, we want you to come to meetings prepared. If you go through something with a meeting with a mentor, and then there's a worksheet that you need to work on for the next one, whether that's drafting your goals or thinking about what questions you want to ask in this next meeting, we'll provide you with a lot of prompts for that, but you're also welcome to do what you need. You certainly don't have to use just the materials that we give you. So we want you to go to those meetings prepared, which does bring us to our final rule of mentorship, which is be respectful and appreciate your mentor's time. Everybody seems like they're short on time right now. Many folks that are actively working in the workforce are because of resignations in their company and short staffing. Some of those folks are working more than they typically would right now. Others have life events that are going on in their lives that are taking away attention, and they're still willing to give some of their time to you as a mentee. And that's a pretty special gift, and we want to make sure you appreciate that. It's important to make sure that there are no last minute cancellations on a meeting. We recommend 24 hours notice at a minimum if you're not going to be able to make a meeting with your mentor. We do also understand that emergency situations come up and at least want you to not no-show on that meeting. So as much as possible, give your mentor some advance notice so maybe they can use that time differently. But otherwise, if there is an emergency, you need to communicate as quickly as you possibly can with them. And then really value the time that your mentor is giving you. As I mentioned, it's in short supply, but they are more than willing and have signed up for this program specifically to give you some of their time to talk with you, to learn about you, to enjoy being a mentor in the program. And so really, we want both partners to value that time that you're spending building this relationship. It really can be life-changing in some ways. And we're very proud of some of the feedback we've gotten about the program along those lines. So I'm going to go to another poll here, and I want you to enter what is the most important rule of the mentorship program. I'm so excited that so many of you are still with me and paying attention enough to do the polls. We never know on a Zoom meeting who's engaged. Okay, looks like I've got almost everybody. So I'll end that poll, share the results. And this is sort of how it split down last night too. All of these rules are very important. Otherwise, I wouldn't have put them in a PowerPoint and made you listen to me. But what is the most important rule across all of this is a split between be respectful and appreciate your mentor's time and do not ghost your mentor. I emphasize in this presentation that it is incredibly important to not ghost your mentor. We did have that happen, and it's disappointing when somebody doesn't even bother to reach out to you after you've offered your time to them. So the most important rule is not to ghost your mentor. At the same time, yes, you absolutely better be respectful and appreciate that time that someone's giving to you. So in some ways, it's a little bit of a trick question. Doing the work, reaching out to your mentor promptly, and taking an active part in this matching process are also incredibly important. But some of those may go in different directions. It's a very flexible program. Please, please do not ghost your mentor. Okay, so then I do want to briefly mention, what if something goes wrong? Because things can go wrong in relationships. We're talking about two people here. So things that could go wrong might be inappropriate behavior by your mentor. They may say something that you find is inappropriate, that is racist, that is sexist. There are a lot of different resources for help with that we'll go through in a minute. You may have a mentor that's not responding to you when you reach out to them. There can be a lot of reasons for that. Don't take it personally. But definitely you'll be needing to let us know that that's going on as soon as you can. Give us about a week after you do your first outreach. There is a holiday weekend coming up right after this match period for Indigenous Peoples Day. And so who knows, there's a lot of travel going on that weekend. We want to make sure that we give some grace for that. There might also be communication issues between you and your mentor. This can be something as simple as being in different time zones. It could also be something like a language barrier. So there are different things that can happen with that. Sometimes it also seems like your mentor can't help you. Some of our mentors are new and they're not sure how to help you. That's where we have the program guides and their ability to guide you through that. It's not necessarily always going to be the same thing. What we want is to make sure that mentors know that they can help anyone and that you know that any mentor could help you in some capacity or other. And then finally, what about if the platform bottoms out? We do want you to do at least your first 2 communications within the Meliora Collective, but sometimes tech crashes. And so we do want to acknowledge that sometimes that's the case. People Grove, the vendor that we use, has spent a lot of time upgrading video software and video meetings right on the platform. So we're confident in it, but sometimes things happen. So with that, there are a lot of resources for help. On the Meliora Collective, when you go to the mentorship program, you're going to see different tabs now that you're admitted. The mentors is where you do your favoriting, a discussion board if you have questions that are broader, or if you and your mentor have a question you'd like to seek feedback from others on. And then there's that resources tab, which then breaks down into several other spaces, including a mentee resources area. This is where you're going to find your guide, the videos, lots of different things about how to think through your mentorship program. And in the mentee program guide, there's actually an entire section about how to give grace to your mentor, but also what to do when you start running into some of these issues if that happens. When in doubt, reach out. My email, Becky's email, Michelle's email are all here on the screen. We are also all represented on the program as the administrators. So you are welcome to reach out to us when something goes wrong, when something changes. So after that, I do have another quick poll. I'm going to give you a specific situation about what you might need to do in a situation where you need help. So with this, what should you do if you feel that your mentor may be acting inappropriately, racist, sexist, ableist, etc., or might be harassing you? I am very grateful to say that this has not yet happened in our mentorship program that we're aware of, but it is something that we want to acknowledge and call out for what it is, because we never want someone to be in this program or feel stuck in this program when they are not feeling welcome and like they can be authentically themselves. Couple last ones trickling in. Okay, I'm going to end that poll and share the results. So this is a great split. It's a little bit similar, but I want to talk about the 2 that you didn't pick because I'm so excited about that. It can be very, very easy when you feel like someone is harassing you or that there's a problem or that there's not a good fit for you because that person said something or did something that was offensive to you, that oppressed you, that could have popped into any one of these ways. I'm very grateful that none of you selected to drop out of the program. We want to make sure that we understand when that happens because those are learning moments for everybody in our community. I'm also really glad nobody felt like they had to suck it up and take it because they're a good connection for you. There are some people that believe that, but that is not necessarily what we want for you in the program. We absolutely do want those of you who would address it with them directly to feel empowered to do that. And if you need to talk with one of us in order to ask us to coach you through that, then that's fantastic. If you're not comfortable addressing that behavior with them directly in the moment or afterwards, please, please, please reach out to myself or to Becky so that we can walk you through that situation and hear what it is that you want to do about it in that moment. And really ask just a couple of questions. Because most of our alumni are within the University of Rochester system, but not necessarily on campus, we have some investigation to do in terms of what that might mean if there is a case of harassment. And we'll be there to walk alongside of you with that path should something occur. Again, it hasn't happened, but I'm not going to sweep anything under the rug with this because relationships are hard and sometimes people just are crappy. So I'm going to stop that now. Thank you for participating in all of our polls. And that brings us to the end of our primary program. So this is where I will go in and I am going to open it up so that you can unmute your mic if you would like to, as well as you're welcome to put any questions you have in the chat. Oh, the awkward silence. I'm actually going to turn off my presentation. That way I can see faces in case anyone's trying to signal me that they can't unmute. Thank you for letting me know that you're not able to unmute. I am allowing you to unmute yourselves. If you'd like, since that doesn't seem like it's working, if you want to just send me a private message in the chat, I can unmute you there as well. Or it says I can ask you to unmute now, so maybe that's an option again. Technology is the greatest. So Ronald, Sean, I'm not sure if you had specific questions or anything, or if you were just testing the tech. So we have a question that came in, which is a fantastic question. If I'm interested in 3 people and favorite them, I'll only be matched with 1, correct? And so this is a question we got last night as well in our other session. Mentees can only be matched to 1 mentor. We do have some mentors that are going to take on 2 mentees, so they may end up with 2. So don't worry too much about picking people that might be more appropriate for others. Just pick the people you'd be interested in having a conversation with for the next 3 months. With that though, if you go in and you find 3 fantastic individuals that you'd really like to speak with no matter what, I would encourage you to think about taking their names down, going into the platform after we get you matched to one of them, and taking a look at the profiles of the other 2 individuals on the Connections tab in the Meliora Collective. They are obviously going to be actively mentoring another mentee at that point, but that's not to say that you can't reach out, start a conversation, and see if they have availability to continue that conversation right now during the program. You can use that program guide to structure that sort of informally, or if they'd be willing to connect with you once the mentorship program is over and maybe talk with you more in the spring. So that's completely up to you. But at this point, we'll get you 1 mentor because we have less mentors available than we have mentees. Okay, and then there's another great question about how to favorite mentors. So when you go into the program on the Meliora Collective, there is a mentors tab. When you click on that, you'll see all mentors in the program, and there are some fantastic filters across the top. I'm personally a big fan of a keyword search if I'm looking for something specific. And then if you go to other filters, you can filter by things like what their user type is. If you specifically only want to be matched with an alumnus, you can go in and you can take a look at the schools that they have participated in or got their degrees from. I don't recommend using school or Rochester degree type too heavily, because sometimes that information on their profile just isn't lined up correctly. But then also we have fantastic alumni, for example, that go on and get MBAs and medical degrees at other institutions. And if you're just looking for those with that University of Rochester degree experience, your pool might be more limited. And then finally in there, there's also access to a ton of affinity filters. That could be student organizations that you share. It could be things like race and background and first gen status, and if they're an international student. So there's a lot built in there to help you look for individuals. Once the filters come up, you'll be able to click on the person's name to see their entire profile, or there'll be a blue button on that card that'll allow you to favorite them and add them to your favorites list. Thank you for that question. Fantastic. There's also a question if I'm interested at what point in the process can we opt to be a mentor in the upcoming cohort. I'm excited to see this program from both sides and an opportunity to give back. So first of all, whomever it is that asked that question, thank you so much for participating in the program and being interested in giving back after the fact. Once we launch the new program, we will, I believe, be launching that shortly after this one wraps up. Alumni can opt in to be mentors or mentees and will be able to join the new program and change and edit their membership to take on that new role. Students and graduate students currently can only operate as mentees. We might be looking at this for our graduate students, being that some of you have amazing life experience within your graduate program, and then also potentially when you came to your graduate program. But as of right now, we're keeping it limited so that undergraduates and graduate students can only exist in a mentee capacity. If you have ideas about that or thoughts about that as a graduate student, please feel free to email me and let me know. Oh my goodness, I love this next question. Because we have a booklet and workbook, advice on how to keep these meetings from feeling like supervised homework time. Also, if you could, please don't say my name. Cool, not saying your name. So with these, we're expecting you to do the worksheets that come with each of these meetings before you get into the meeting. I don't want you spending time sitting there filling all of that stuff out and thinking through your thoughts on it while you're sitting with your mentor. So we will give in your goals. It'll say to set up the meeting and to participate in the meeting. You'll be able to download the worksheet for that meeting. Work on it your own. And that's what I mean by being prepared to come to that meeting, and then talk through some of your answers and get your mentor's ideas on what those goals are. Do you need to refine them more clearly? What are the different things they can do to help you achieve those short-term goals and really think about those long-term goals so that they're giving you that active feedback in that conversation. You're spending a lot more time talking to your mentor than jotting your thoughts down. The other thing that can happen is once we get you matched, your mentor or yourself may say, I don't want to do anything that's in this workbook. I think that this process is silly for me. I already know how I want to do this. And you go rogue and go off the rails. I actually don't have a problem with that. We built these guides to give you some structure to help you walk through this and give you a framework. But if that's not working for you, this program is entirely flexible to respond to that, however it is that's taking place. And then the last one I have on here is, sorry, that just scrolled up quick. Where should I go if I have access to the program handbook to start preparing questions? So you can find the program handbook in any of the emails that I've sent you about being admitted to the program. You can also find it in the mentorship program under the resources tab under Mentee resources. It's the very first one. It's a little meaty. It's got a lot of text in it. So there's also versions of those worksheets that you can begin doing. And if you just keep scrolling through the Mentee resources, you'll start to see those. So that's, and then I have a final question here. Somebody meant a guide to help set some good questions, possibly for some informational interviews. Within that guide and within each of the worksheets, there's a getting to know your mentor worksheet for meeting 1 that does go through a bunch of questions. You might want to consider asking them just to get to know them a bit more. And then also, if you go to the meeting guide for meetings 3 and 4, there's other questions really intentional to get you to dig in deep to some specific areas. And those are broken out by different types of questions. So there might be questions around career development. There might be questions specific to the workplace or to industry trends. So please take a look at those. And we do provide you with a lot of questions. Then if you also need other questions to think about asking in informational interviews, Google is an amazing source. Some of my favorite career resources that are out there include themuse.com has resources like that. I believe glassdoor.com does as well. And so there's plenty of writers out there that have talked about the top 5 questions to ask in your informational interview and those kinds of things. So they're absolutely, you're not limited to the questions we've provided. You can ask any that you feel comfortable with as you build your relationship with your mentor. And then there's a question, is there a place to see your list of previously favorited mentors? I believe when you go into the mentor list, so once you go into the program, you go to the mentors tab, there's going to be a filter option for folks that you've favorited. And so you should be able to view just those. They'll come up as favorites. Another option that you can do with that is as you're going through the favoriting process, on the upper right top of a mentor's card, you can bookmark them. And then you can absolutely filter for those that you've bookmarked. So maybe you're just surfing around and, oh, these people are kind of interesting, but I only want to favorite those I'm really certain of. You can go through and bookmark those that might be interesting, and then go back and just review the folks that you've bookmarked if you're in that sort of like filtering down process for yourself. Okay, I think I got all the questions. If I did not answer your question, please feel free to copy it and paste it in below. I'm scanning very quickly here to see that. I will be following up with everyone with an email, just with reminders about that favoriting process, as well as for individuals that weren't able to make one of these meetings. This meeting has been recorded, and so I will have a video available of it earlier this afternoon, as soon as I can get that processed over to YouTube. And I appreciate all of you being here. I will hang on the line just a little bit longer if somebody does have a specific question that they'd like to ask more one-on-one. But otherwise, I hope everyone has a fantastic weekend. Remember to go in and favorite your mentors, and we're really looking forward to getting you connected with a fantastic mentor next week.